As a young girl, Shelley could only watch as the local adventurers struggled to curb the impending menace, which eventually gave rise to monster camps on the city's outskirts and its trade routes. Otfield's trade activities began to dwindle, compelling the wealthy and the nobility to seek refuge and prospects in safer cities. This mass exodus left Otfield in a state of decline, its former vibrancy replaced by an influx of criminals. While these newcomers did fend off the monsters, they also transformed the city into a hotbed for thievery and lawlessness. Shelley's narrative, tinted with melancholy, paints a stark picture of the city's current plight. The criminals, while providing protection, exploit the local residents, forever demanding money that they scarcely have. Their tyranny is unchecked, their actions unhindered, and their power unopposed. With solemn determination, Shelley announced her intent to become a top-tier adventurer, vowing to restore tranquility to Otfield, a place that once thrived in calm and serenity. Crome audibly gasped, uttering her name in sheer astonishment. Within the sacred walls of the church where Shelley spent her childhood, a young boy chimed in. He vowed to become an adventurer upon reaching adulthood, promising to defend the city in tandem with Shelley's older sister. To affirm his resolution, he demonstrated a special ability, hinting at the unique skill he possessed. A fireball began to coalesce in his hands. As an orphan, he pledged to dedicate all his future earnings to the church to support his chosen family, which included the benevolent Holy Father who raised them. He was convinced that Shelley would be profoundly moved by his heartfelt promise. Suddenly, the peaceful ambiance was disturbed by the sound of approaching footsteps. The Holy Father stiffened, alarmed by the unexpected visitors. As the church door swung open with a jarring force, two towering figures strode in, adventurers, or so they appeared. The boy, filled with curiosity, innocently asked about the identity of the imposing men who had intruded upon their peaceful haven. Jeff, the more prominent of the newcomers, remarked with a hint of sarcasm about the surprising nature of Otfield, expressing disbelief that their decrepit church, overrun by rats and debris, was still operational. The Holy Father felt a cold chill run down his spine. He immediately recognized these men as representatives of the Red Dragon Gang, a ruthless syndicate exerting a stranglehold over the city. Without wasting any time, Jeff clarified the purpose of their visit. Their gang was suffering from a diminishing workforce, and they believed that the Holy Father, with his assortment of capable youngsters, could help remedy this issue. With an ominous tone, the man mentioned they carried a direct order from the gang's leader, an ultimatum that couldn't be declined or circumvented. The Holy Father realized the grim implications of defying their demand. Indeed, lurking in the teacher's shadow was a boy who had recently shown off his exceptional abilities. He was trembling, consumed by an unnamed fear. These faces were unfamiliar to him, yet their mere presence elicited a visceral trembling throughout his body. Clinging to the Holy Father's robe was his only solace. Choosing the path of courage rather than fear, the boy was determined. He had power, and he yearned to be as strong as Shelley's elder sister, a beacon of strength who protected the vulnerable. A man, who arrived with Jeff, scoffed at the trials of looking after children, and suggested that the old man lighten his burden by turning them over. Occasionally, the Holy Father would sink to his knees, tears streaking his face, begging them not to involve the children in this matter. Touching his forehead to the floor, the man proposed a trade, suggesting they take the children if they so desired. Jeff merely smirked, finding the old man's ignorance amusing. They certainly had no use for a feeble, aging man. The Red Dragons were in dire need of fresh recruits to mold into their image, according to their gang's code. The Holy Father would only prove a hindrance. An orphan stepped forward, stuttering but determined, vowing to stand up to those who threatened his loved ones, especially the Holy Father. A 5-pointed yellow star flared into existence on his palm. The clergyman called for the boy, Tails, to cease. Ignoring the plea, Tails boldly directed his fireball skill towards the Red Dragons. Jeff was not perturbed by such a meager show of force. On the contrary, he found the boy's ability intriguing. His companion effortlessly repelled the fiery projectile. To a seasoned warrior, the attack was feeble. Tails was crestfallen. His intention had been to protect his kin and the Holy Father, but his assault had been ineffective. The long-haired man remarked that the boy had failed to fully utilize his abilities. He decided to provide a demonstration. Conjuring a star identical to Tails, Though imbued with a vibrant purple and a brighter glow, he showcased his own skill, ball lightning. The raw power he possessed was invaluable to the gang. With a simple touch, he reduced a wall to rubble, allowing the stark streetlight to pour in. Jeff marveled at his comrade's skill. It was genuinely impressive. Tails could only retreat before these two formidable figures, feeling insignificant and powerless. He realized he was ill-equipped to challenge them, his hopes dwindling as he faced the harsh reality. Crumbling to his knees, the boy is met with the taunting voice of Jeff, asserting that he's finally grasped the hopelessness of his situation. A second gang member extends his palm invitingly, guaranteeing that the Red Dragons will hone his abilities to exceptional levels. He needn't fear anymore. The Holy Father, on the sidelines, acknowledges the danger. If they push the boy too hard in training, it could be his end. Leaning against the brick wall next to a dormant fireplace is an iron rod, not unlike a poker. The Holy Father seizes it. Once a monster slayer, he still has the fight in him. He swings the rod, landing a blow on the back of Jeff's partner's head. The retort is swift, a sword strike. The clash of metal illuminates the room with an eerie purple flash, stirring doubt in the Holy Father's mind. Jeff reacts with exasperation, questioning the old man's reckless act. Urgently, the Holy Father implores the boy, Tails, to flee while he can. Tails' eyes well up with tears as he beholds his guardian, but he heeds his words and bolts for the exit. Jeff curses, yearning to chase after the defiant lad, but his partner suggests otherwise. The gang member insists that before pursuing the boy, they must first discipline the audacious old man who dared to defy them and the Red Dragons. His face remains stoic, but the fiery gleam in his eyes reveals his true emotions. As the uproar escalates, curious children trickle out of their rooms, anxiously questioning their guardian about the ongoing chaos. With a pained voice and eyes shut tight, the Holy Father implores the children to escape the church, just like Tails. Stricken with uncertainty, the orphans hesitate. Jeff seizes the opportunity, pressing his blade to the prostrate Holy Father, warning that even the slightest movement would sever the man's head from his body. His accomplice, grasping the old man's gray hair, shoves his face further into the floor. He declares that his ball lightning's destructive potential grows with every second of accumulated energy. Their options? Surrender the Holy Father's life or hand over the children. The ultimatum's resolution rests solely with the old man. All the while, the crackle of threatening lightning echoes ominously through the city streets. Shelley stands frozen, her mouth agape. The reward Chrome was supposed to receive for vanquishing the Gargoyle King, entrusted to Shelley by Frank, was already distributed because the mimic hadn't claimed it. Schultz hastily apologizes, revealing she had donated part of the bounty to her church, while Frank and Guido divided the rest. To Chrome, however, this is not a catastrophe. As long as he possesses any money at all, he remains content. He brandishes a half-empty sack of coins, requesting a loan of 200 gold pieces, no more, no less. Shelley informs him she has none, hastily rifling through her pockets in search of her own purse. Chrome starts to say that he would appreciate a detailed account of the local dungeons where he plans to venture in order to level up, but a shrill, childlike voice interrupts, calling out to Shelley. Shelley whirls around to find a tearful Tail, panting heavily from a lengthy sprint. The boy halts before her, struggling to stifle his sobs. Schultz drops to his knees, hurriedly cautioning Tail about the dangers of navigating the streets alone. It's far too perilous for such a young child. However, the boy ignores her advice, blurting out that malevolent intruders have infiltrated their church and are threatening to slaughter everyone. "Most revered father," begins Shelley, rising from her kneeling position. She turns to Chrome, urgency etched in her expression. "I must depart immediately. Please, forgive my abruptness." She could see Chrome's understanding dawn. They hadn't sought the Holy Father out for himself, but for the welfare of the children. Compelled by this realization, he decides to accompany her. Shelley was his trusted source of information within Otfield. Losing her to bandits due to recklessness would be an unaffordable mistake. Chrome was reminded of the value of family bonds, however painful they might be. His own childhood memories, intertwined with his younger sister's, weighed heavily on him. In return for Shelley's unconditional kindness, he was determined to protect her. As they prepared to leave, the fractured walls of the church emerged into view. Within those walls, an old man groaned, wincing from pain as a bandit harshly applied a flaming orb to his back. He was cruel enough to cause pain, yet cautious enough to avoid killing. The bandit, Jeff, criticized the old man's stubbornness. A horrifying wound had marred the back of the clergyman. Brutally, Jeff stepped on his head, asserting that he had no intention of becoming a killer. "Submit, old man. This stubbornness of yours helps no one here," Jeff barked. He wondered aloud why the Holy Father insisted on sheltering street children who, in his view, would be better recruits for their gang. Could it be pride, he mused, that made the Holy Father refuse? If so, Jeff mocked, it was a ridiculous reason, certainly not worth dying over after such an impertinent diatribe. Jeff defiantly spat, the globule of saliva landing precisely on the forehead of the clergyman. Despite the pain welling up in his eyes, the holy man refused to let his tears fall. He loved these orphans with all his heart, children who had been cruelly abandoned only to be preyed upon by the red dragons. He swore he would endure any torment, any torture to demonstrate his unwavering love. He would never abandon them to the brutal hands of these hoodlums. An ugly sneer twisted Jeff's face. He couldn't fathom the audacity of the old man, challenging him so brazenly. His accomplice chimed in, expressing his irritation at the drawn-out ordeal. He addressed the terrified children huddled in the room, instructing them to witness the demise of their supposed guardian, promising it would be as pathetic as it was painful. He raised his hand, adorned with a glowing star symbol, ready to unleash his wrath upon the clergyman. Suddenly, through a gap in the wall, courtesy of the dragons themselves, Shelley and Chrome burst in. Chrome took the lead, the shock and horror on his face quickly replaced by determination. With a sword gripped tightly in his hand, he demanded to know what these goons were doing. Jeff's accomplice retorted, reminding him that it was unwise to meddle in the affairs of the red dragons. Suspicion crossed Jeff's face. He was sure he recognized the pale lad from somewhere. Shelley, too, pieced together the terrifying reality. They were facing the notorious Red Dragons, a gang infamous for its ruthless reign over the city. The companion asserts that since Chrome lacks even the most rudimentary understanding of their territory's rules, he'll demonstrate what happens to intruders who overstep their bounds. To emphasize his serious intent, he conjures a fireball in front of him. The Holy Father softly murmurs Shelley's name, clearly reluctant to involve such an innocent soul in this escalating situation due to his presence. Jeff, meanwhile, makes a startling realization about the figure standing before him. It's the same audacious youth who previously fled in cowardice. The sight of him indeed jogged Jeff's memory. With a cocky grin that he can't contain, Jeff points at him. Chrome also recognizes this character. He is none other than the notorious thug from the guild, who had first showcased Otfield's unique brand of hospitality, swinging his sword with the reckless abandon of a child playing with a toy. Jeff brazenly declares that there is no one in their company who can stand against him, even the cowardly Chrome, a sentiment echoed by the long-haired accomplice. The Holy Father, weakened and still sprawled on the ground, lifts his head just enough to plead with Shelley and the unidentified youth to escape from this dangerous situation as quickly as possible. His concern is especially for the young pupil whose skill level does not match that of the formidable Red Dragons. Such vulnerable individuals would usually invite Jeff's derision. However, if Schultz decides to cross swords with him today, they too will become targets. Ignoring the Holy Father's rasping warnings, Jeff laughs off Chrome's tentative jabs with his sword, a piece of equipment that Chrome had so dearly invested 240 gold in. Jeff notices the courage etched on Chrome's face, but his slender physique betrays his inexperience. This is clearly Chrome's baptism of fire, a confrontation where not just his life is at stake, but also those of the Holy Father and Shelley. There's a profound misunderstanding, he realizes. Ghastly creatures that he's battled, life hanging in the balance, flicker across his mind's eye. Even the mighty Gargoyle King, the beast that led him to Shelley. Chrome, with a swift disclaimer, assures him that no mistake should be made. Never has he encountered a weaker adversary than Jeff on this winding journey. His brows arch in surprise. That isn't the response he'd been anticipating. Chrome is the first to launch an attack. Jeff, teeth clenched in frustration, can't help but acknowledge his foe's startling speed and unexpected strength. But surely, his chromium level couldn't surpass Jeff's, could it? It's a prospect he finds inconceivable. Begrudgingly, he dismisses such a possibility. Jeff refuses to accept this version of the truth. He brandishes his sword, but before he can deliver a significant blow, the mimic makes a soft contact with the blade's edge to his chest, enveloping them both in a brilliant emerald light. Jeff's leg buckles beneath him, sending him sprawling onto the worn wooden floorboards. He'd leaped back in an attempt to weaken the incoming strike, but it was still potent enough to skewer him, as if he were nothing more than a piece of meat ready for roasting. Jeff cautiously pats his chest, relieved to find no sign of a wound. Chrome looms over him, a towering figure. The tremor coursing through him is not fear, but pure, unadulterated fury at this man whose conduct rivals the vilest of creatures. Perspiration trickles down his face. The young man could easily dispatch him now, and no decree from the leader of the Red Dragons could spare him. In a chilling realization, Jeff felt his body tremble uncontrollably. How could Mimic, of all people, instill such fear in him? Witnessing the relentless taunting of his friend, Mimic's long-haired companion decides it's time to intervene. With a swift, commanding motion, he lifts his hand skyward, invoking a purple star that shrouds them all, as lightning streaks down with unrelenting force towards Chrome's position. Narrowly avoiding the lethal strike, Chrome leaps back just in time. Without giving Chrome a moment to catch his breath, the man lunges forward, brandishing his sword for an attack, but Chrome is swift, and skillfully parries the incoming blow. He remarks that dealing with Jeff's punches is one thing, but surviving his own ferocious onslaught is another. The fact that Chrome can deflect multiple attacks so easily indicates that he's far from being an ordinary opponent. Yet it baffles Chrome why he chose to wage war against the formidable Red Dragons, all for the sake of a dilapidated church and its few remaining children. As Chrome contemplates his predicament, he realizes he's already activated his skill, one he cannot reverse even amidst the chaos of Otfield. Furthermore, the man he's facing far surpasses his human form in strength. Jeff, who had been knocked down, takes advantage of the momentary distraction and scrambles to his feet. It was unthinkable to him that anyone could challenge the formidable Rado. In his arrogance, Jeff convinces himself that Chrome is now vulnerable, his back exposed. But Shelley steps in to thwart his murderous intent. With an iron resolve, she engages Jeff, determined to fight until her last breath. For the sake of the children, their beloved Holy Father and their sanctuary, she declares that Jeff will have to contend with her now. A vein bulges with fury on Jeff's temple. He senses disdain from everyone in the room, a feeling that fuels his resolve. He vows to make them rue their contempt. As Shelley and Jeff clash, sparks fly from their weapons, each strike infused with their mutual animosity. Schultz struggles to match Jeff's pace. It's clear that Jeff holds the upper hand, his level of skill far superior. He is faster, stronger, and far more menacing. The prospect of a swift triumph hums in Jeff's veins, promising him a quick end to the confrontation. He views Shelley as insignificant, especially when pitted against the likes of Chrome. What's more, it becomes glaringly obvious that this is Schultz's maiden dance with human adversaries. Judging by her attire, she's a guild adventurer, implying her battle scars were earned against monsters, not men. This sets the stage for a straightforward victory. Experience and power lean heavily in Jeff's favor, making the thought of defeat laughable. A grin tugs at his lips as he sizes up his opponent. Does he detect the taint of fear on her innocent features? He parrots the same words to her that he'd delivered to Chrome moments before. Is this her first time staking her life on the front lines? If so, she is but a naive second-tier adventurer, barely worth a glance. And Jeff, he holds a particular fondness for toying with women. Has she been forewarned? He hopes she won't succumb too easily. His derisive declaration furrows Shelley's brow. Never before has anyone audaciously dismissed her as a mere plaything. As for the showdown between Rado and Chrome, the scales of leadership clearly tilt towards the elder. He concedes that his adversary possesses both audacity and a high level of skill. But the metal in his hand should have been consigned to the trash long ago, not used as a token in a duel against someone as formidable as Rado. With an air of indifference, the man lowers his weapon, seeing in his youthful foe a sparring partner rather than a serious contender. He questions Chrome's motivation for picking this fight. According to the laws of nature, the strong should invariably lord over the weak. Chrome believes they can simply seize what they want and depart. But what then? Nothing changes. Contrary to his ally, Rado prefers conservation over expenditure. He continues, warning that a full-throttle battle between titans like Rado and Jeff could wreak untold damage. While Rado is willing to offer Chrome a chance to leave unscathed, he's adamant that he won't turn a blind eye to any further mischief. This is his final warning. He doesn't believe that Chrome would risk his life over such a trivial sense of gratitude. A bystander questions whether it's necessary to cease their conflict, asserting that it won't alter the current predicament. Nevertheless, throughout his life, Chrome has encountered numerous insufferable individuals, Rado being one of them. Chrome's encounters with such people solidified his resolve, fueling his dream of becoming an adventurer. Even when the path seemed absurd or fruitless, he refused to abandon his pursuit. Staring at his adversary, Chrome vehemently declares that he won't be swayed by someone like Rado, who consistently evades confrontation despite his own transgressions. Annoyed, Rado retorts, labeling Chrome a complete fool. The elder confesses that he didn't anticipate a confrontation with a fool in such circumstances. Still, as a member of the Red Dragons, he finds it unacceptable for a young upstart like Chrome to tarnish their reputation and dignity. With a swift motion, Rado extends his hand, invoking a surge of lightning into his sword. It's a spectacle Chrome has never witnessed before, leaving him in awe of the radiant energy crackling around them. Rado, in a menacing promise, states that he'll incinerate Chrome within mere seconds. This action, he avows, will make Chrome rue the decision he made, even if the boy doesn't harbor any doubts at the moment.